What's going on, guys? It's Zeit. I am back, and I am bringing you another character build. And today, for your pleasure, we are covering the Psycho. Yes, today we're covering the Psycho, and he has been a very fun and frustrating character to play. Let's start off, of course, with our basic ability. So this is going to be a melee build I'm going to show you. I have 3 builds for him so far, and this build, I'm going to tell you right now, extremely frustrating on bigger bosses like the Warrior. Now, if you're farming, say, your 2.5 or third playthrough of bosses, it won't be too bad if you're fighting, like, say, people like Boom Boom or the named guys that you can take out, because you'll be able to, like, 2 to 3 shot them with this guy. This guy is ridiculous when you get up close and personal. Your problem comes in on bosses like Warrior, where you need slag to defeat your enemies, because once you go into your melee spec, and if you go like with your maximum stacks, you go into your melee Zerker Rage thing for a very long time, and you have no access to anything but your melee, which really sucks as far as trying to slag things in the second playthrough. I have been messaging some of the devs for the game, kind of trying to bring awareness for that fact, because anybody who is going through the third play of this game with this character is going to want to kill themselves, much like Krieg tries to do on his own. But before I put the first 5 talents in, I'm going to show you. So as you can see, my health is at 216k, which is actually pretty high. But that's a lot of gear that brings me that high. Now, with the first talents I show you, feeds the meat, increase maximum health and shield. Now we will see that, oh, you can't actually see it. I think I'm at like 398k health. But as you can see, it brought my shield up as well. My shield's up at 200k. That is freaking ridiculous. So we move on to the next talent, and you'll see that there's these 2 here. And this one will, you know, it honestly is very enticing to take. But that shield recharge delay, I really didn't want to take that, mainly because I switch out my shields very often. I use a health regen shield. Sometimes I use a roid shield. It all depends on what I'm doing. So instead, I just went for Fuel the Rampage. Taking damage recharges the Buzz Axe Rampage at a faster rate. Taking health damage increases that bonus even further. This is very good because as a melee class, you definitely run in and take a lot of beatings. I can't really show you its effect until I actually get into the gameplay, but you know, that's just where you're going with it. Your next one will be Thrill of the Kill. A percentage of overkill damage will heal you, basically. And this is a no-brainer. You have to take this, otherwise you're going to go down a lot trying to chase down your prey while you melee. Now, I did think at first this is a horrible idea. I did not want to go with Light the Fuse. But it's a give-take. When you use this ability, you do a shit ton of damage, especially when you add up. I believe this actually increases it. I haven't 100% tested this yet, but I'm going to test it some more, and I'll put an annotation if I'm right or wrong. But using Light the Fuse is the best way to make use of your fight for your life phase. Not to mention, it increases your movement speed while in fight for your life, so you won't have as much of those enemies running and hiding behind corners, because that's really frustrating. You can go into a full sprint while you're using this, and it's definitely worth it. So as I said, because of how I'm going into the next tree, which is going for Blood Splosion, you'll want to keep Strip the Flesh, because this will increase all elemental explosive damage and increase your fight for lifetime. This one, you can get it or you cannot get it. It really doesn't matter. I feel it's up to you. But it's a very strong ability. Earlier, while I was playing, it seemed like it wasn't working properly, because it was always bringing me down to 90% health, or down to 10% health. So it was only taking 90% of my health. And then randomly throughout my gameplay yesterday with the second flock, it started killing me. So I'm not sure how it's actually intended to use, if it actually is intended to kill you while you revive someone. But, oh yeah, it is. Yeah, if you read that. After reviving a teammate in this way, you must fight for your life. Which is not necessarily a bad thing, because you want to go close to 33% of your health, or into fight for your life, get a revive, and then right away hit your Buzzsaw Rage so that you can go into it with knowing once it's done, you'll go right back into your Buzzsaw Rage, because that's what this last ability will allow you to do. So at this point in time, I'm going to take it. Melee damage is significantly increased. Now this is what frustrates me about this class. This is the must-take talent you have to take for melee. Because look at that damage increase. 200%. With all of those extra talents that I get from my class mod, it adds up to 400%. Now the problem is, you have a chance to knock yourself out with it, which is a 12% chance. Which, I don't need to tell you, RNG on computers is just crap. Absolute crap. I have had times where I was at full health, and I'm fighting a super badass, run up to him, hit melee 3 times, you know who gets hit? Not the badass. I smoke myself in the face 3 times. So I really want them to change this to talent, because honestly, it's very frustrating. I feel that there should be a different kind of negative if they really want to put a negative into the game. Again, a lot of you might know already that I'm very frustrated with having any form of negative talents in the game. I think it's ridiculous. Like, the Necromancer's Anarchy skill is ridiculous. Why would you increase your... or not increase, but why would you decrease your accuracy while you gain damage? I mean, it makes no sense to me to be able to do more damage, but then not be able to hit. But, I don't know, they want to make things quote-unquote interesting. And it's kind of funny, because why would you buy DLC that is only going to frustrate you? I mean, did they steal some of the devs from Call of Duty for that? Anyways, Silence of Voices, like I said, it's a must-have talent for your melee damage. And finally, you'll go into Release the Beast. This one is a very fun talent to use. Activating Buzz Axe Rampage when at or below 33% of your health will instantly refill your health and transform you into a badass psycho mutant. You deal increased melee damage and receive significant damage reduction for the duration of the rampage. Now, when your cooldown is done, this is the part that's important for this, your cooldown will instantly reset, which is good because it's a very long cooldown. Now, what you need to do, though, is, again, you need to wait until you go back down to 33% health again, because you want to make sure that you're in that melee phase for as long as possible. So now we come over to the Bloodlust tree, and we want to go all the way down to the bottom. We'll start off with the blood-filled guns. Oh, yeah. Now, this tree has a lot of kill skills, and I don't like kill skills because, basically, any boss where it's just the boss, you're pretty much pooched. You're not going to be doing much damage with a kill skill because you need to kill to do it. Taste of blood during the Blood Axe Rampage. All damage you suffer is reduced. Damage reduction is increased for each... Ah, nice. I didn't even realize that. Damage reduction is increased per stack of Bloodlust. That's another thing that I'll get into right at the end of doing this build. So as you can see, 5 points there. Buzz Axe Bombardier, 1 point to add extra damage to your melee because it does explosives. And again, it takes from that explosive element damage over here. Fuel the Blood, kill skill. Killing an enemy with melee increases grenade damage for each stack of Bloodlust and adds a bonus stack of Bloodlust. So, not particularly great, but out of all of the other kill skills, it's the best one to take. And I just am so lucky to actually get a class mod that gives me that extra few pieces. So from there, we go over to Blood Trance. Duration of Blood Axe Rampage is increased for each stack of Bloodlust at the time of activation. So you want to spend a lot of time shooting before you go into your Bloodlust, because once you hit 100 stacks, your Bloodlust will last a long freaking time. I will show you a comparison of the two with and without the stacks. Alright, so here you're going to see I'm at 100 stacks. I just keep shooting once in a while to keep my stacks up while I'm talking. And you're going to see a huge difference in length of time for how long you have your Blood Axe Rampage up for. How do you like my candle? It's a very explosive candle. And as you can tell, Krieg is very vocal. He gets very angry. Now the other thing too is while you're in this melee phase, when you throw your axe, you get 1 stack back for your, I can't remember what it's called, rage or whatever. But when you kill something, I believe it gives you 50 stacks. I'm not 100% positive on that. I have never really paid attention to how many stacks it gives you. I just know it gives you a butt ton. So getting a kill with a melee is better than throwing the weapon. But throwing it will get you a stack, and a melee, I believe, gets you a ton. So as you can see, it lasted a pretty freaking long time having maximum stacks. So your aim is to always hit maximum stacks before hitting your Bloodlust. And so in order to do that, what you want to do is you want to get any weapon, and I went with the Infinity Pistols because Krieg honestly does fuck all for gun damage, and your best bet is to just get a high rate of fire weapon so that you can build those stacks quickly. There's no time between stacks, so like as soon as one bullet hits, when the next one hits, you get another stack. I experimented with shotguns. Shotguns do not do per pellet, so you take 1 shot with a shotgun, you get 1 stack. So using a shotgun is garbage. That's why I don't understand Salt the Wound, which gives you increased shotgun damage. Yeah, okay, that's great that you give increased shotgun damage, but that just works in a negative way for your stacking. So let's see how long it takes me to get to my stacks with my Infinite Pistol. As you can hear, there's a little chink. That's just giving you an idea that you've gone up 10 stacks. And then you hear that little that's the audio cue that you are at 100 stacks. So there's these little things you got to pay attention to. I mean, you can change your sound settings so that your damage outside of what you do, whatever's the ambient noise, the other raiders, all that stuff, you can turn that audio down and turn your self audio up, I believe, in the audio settings, so you can hear these cues. Boiling point. Increase the time before Bloodlust stacks start to decay. So you definitely want to grab this because it allows you a much longer time to run around with those stacks between fights. It's still a very short period of time, but 2.5 seconds makes it a hell of a lot easier to stay on top of. And Blood Explosion. This is ridiculous. Killing an enemy causes them to explode with an elemental nova, matching whatever element you're using. Non-elemental damage will cause an explosive nova. Nova damage increase for each stack of Bloodlust. So if you're at 100 stacks, it's ridiculous. I've actually had, I've hit the max damage at one point. I don't know how I did it, but I tried to replicate it and I couldn't do it. Any overkill damage is also added to damage caused by an explosion. So I think that might have to do with how I managed to actually stack some extra damage on top, because I hit the max cap, which was, I think, 99 million damage. It was just 99999. That's all I saw, was a bunch of 9s. So I know that I hit max damage, and before that I did like 23 or 33 million. So it was ridiculous. So we'll pick that up. And now this last point, honestly, I would say it's up to you guys. If you like this Salt the Wound stacking ability, I'd go for it. But honestly, I don't really like it. The stacks are hard to keep up. It only stacks up to 20, adding an extra 30% melee damage. Or you can go with Empty the Rage, melee damage increased, additional bonus damage if your shield goes down or when your magazine is empty. Just ignore the magazine is empty, but when the shield goes down, that happens a lot because you're melee. So I would put the 1 point into this because it gives you an automatic 20%. Yeah, it's a little bit less than the, where is it here? Than Salt the Wound if you have 1 point in it. But I've also got a +4 to it, so makes it nice for me. Anyways, that's it for the build. Let's get into a little bit of what it looks like, huh? Alright, so I'm just going to show you a little bit of my gear. I do switch out a lot of things here. So like I said, I've got 2 different Infinity Pistols. One for taking out shields, one for robots and shit. And it's pretty decent on people too. I mean, acid's not the greatest, but it's, you know, it's just an Infinity Pistol, something that shoots fast. Slag, I try and slag as much as I can before I go into my melee phase, because once you are in the Bloodthirst, you cannot do fuck all to slag. And that's another thing that I'm trying to bring up for the devs for Gearbox. The melee spec is very, very weak unless you're with other people. And as far as it goes, like, people want to be able to solo stuff. That's, I mean, a lot of the challenge for me comes from trying to solo stuff. And I've tried to solo a few things on Krieg, and it has gone horrendously. I'm going to try a fire build to try and solo on my own, but I really dislike being so reliant on guns when Krieg is so weak with guns in comparison to how strong he is with melee. I got this really neat pearlescent assault rifle that does a really a big amount of fire damage. And the important thing is, it's not that it does a lot of fire damage. I'll show you here. It's that it does this like giant wave of fire. So like on group, oh, I can't see it here. Shit. Let's see. There, you see that little? It shoots that little like triangle out right at the end. That's actually a giant cloud of fire. So firing that into a group of guys is just like GG. You're gonna wipe that whole group out. So in the fire spec, it'll be really good. Especially since when you gain fire stacks, you're going to gain a similar kind of psycho stack system that'll grant extra damage. And for the most part, with the fire tree, you're going to be gaining a shit ton of increased fire rate. Now, I went with the epic rather than the legendary because the epic adds melee damage and the legendary adds fire damage. So it's for the fire tree. This is one of my many shields that I use. The punchy is, well, I mean, it's a punchy. It adds roid damage when your shields are down, and it gives you a ridiculously large amount of shields to begin with. I went with the sticky homing type O negative because there's times when there's just too much going on, and I definitely want to heal up and kind of get away from the action, especially if there's only a few guys. I don't want to try and risk going all the way down on, like, say, a super badass, and if he takes me out and he's at full health, then I'm going to have a hard time coming back even with the fight for your life ability, light the fuse. I went with just a blue max health relic, but again, when I switch things out, like if I don't go for the roid damage shield, I have, where is it here? I go for the melee override, and then I wear another shield that adds health, and I've got a few of them. So I've got the negotiator, and I would probably use the negotiator with that relic that adds melee damage. Or I've also got the rough rider. I've been testing that out. It's hard to say which one I prefer. The Rough Rider adds a damage resistance across the board for everything, so that's pretty nifty, but at the same time you get 0 shields, so sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. Originally I was testing it out with the ability Embrace the Pain, which I will admit, it was great for the increased fire rate, but at the same time you spend so little time actually in your regular Krieg state for your shooting that this I felt was a complete waste of talents. So, yeah, I think that's pretty much it for my gear. Oh, yeah, I did want to mention one thing. I did go specifically and get this for Krieg because it said 200% melee damage. It is great when you're in your regular Krieg form and you're just meleeing. But when you switch over to your Mutant Krieg or even just your Buzz Axe ability, this melee damage does not transfer over. So do not think that using this will be good for you because it makes little to no difference at all. So that's pretty much it, guys, for the Krieg demo, or I should say class review for his melee spec. I will end this with some gameplay so you can kind of see what's going on and how crazy at times it can be. And I'll catch you in the next one, guys. I'm probably going to show you the fire tree spec next, and if you guys are also playing Borderlands on the Steam, let me know, and maybe we can all hook up and, you know, shoot the shit and kill some shit and have some fun. Anyways, peace, guys.